the Self-Love Experiment interview series here at Play with the World. I'm here with Amy. Amy, hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's so amazing to have you here, and I'm so thrilled because you have a book that just came out, The Compassion Revolution.
I do.
Is that right?
That's it.
Tell us briefly about it. It just came out.
It is 30 days of living from the heart. So it talks a little bit about my story, but it also gives you actionable tips to delve into self-compassion and then how you can share compassion with the world.
Oh my gosh.
So in these kind of hectic and diverse times, it's a really awesome pick-me-up, and it also helps you hone in on the contribution that you'd like to make.
Oh, that's so beautiful, and it's such a perfect time too. And we have a special thing we have planned for you today. Amy and I have come together, and we have a topic today that we think is very important because both of our work and what we're here to share is to help you really get in touch with your best self, and one of the best ways to do that is through self-compassion. So Amy and I have put together some powerful tips that you can use and apply in your life right away. 6 foolproof ways that you can feel more self-compassion right now. But before we dive in, I must tell you about an exciting event in September in New York City. Amy is coming together for this beautiful event called the Self-Love Revolution, live in New York City. We will be there to inspire you, give you hugs. So if you want more details on that and you are in New York, you want to fly to New York like we are to be in New York, then come on and check out the details on any of our websites. Okay, just go to your events page and you'll get all the skinny. But let's dive into today's tips. Okay, so I'd love to start today. Amy, you're going to kick it off. It's number 1 way that we can feel more self-compassion.
We have to make time at least once a day for daily joy. We have to do something that brings us joy every day. Otherwise, what's the point of life?
Yeah.
It might be a 2-minute dance party because that's all you have time for. It might be, time journaling. It might be a bath. It might be swimming. It might be a nap.
Right.
It could be anything. It's tuning in. What's going to bring you joy? What do you need? And give yourself that treat every day because you're worth it. It's just a statement of self-worth.
It's so beautiful that you say that. And I think you asked us the question, what do I need? Which is sometimes we feel like we don't have time for joy, but it's a bedrock to our practice of living a fulfilled life.
It's essential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So, okay, well, I'll dive into my first step. Number 1 or number 2, right, in our series here is to recognize that there is beauty in breakdown. So this is really key for all of us because we're going through a lot of different situations in our life. A lot of times we feel like things are happening to us. And as I talk about in my book, The Self-Love Experiment, right here, woohoo, it's really about life is giving you an opportunity to learn and grow. And so when we can recognize that the parts of our life that we don't understand, or the troubling times, or the parts that we're feeling stuck and don't know how to move forward, these are the greatest opportunities for us to have personal growth, spiritual growth, emotional growth. And so recognizing that there is beauty to be found in each breakdown will help you feel more aligned with yourself and more compassion as you move forward.
That's such a beautiful sentiment.
Yeah.
A lot of times I think people go into feeling like they failed if there's a problem, and we never fail. Every mistake is a step forward. And I love that you shared that.
Yeah, thank you. It really is about looking at the lessons in each thing that we're going through as well.
Absolutely.
So what do you got for your next tip?
Well, number 3 is I really am a huge proponent of a technology cleanse. And how compassionate would that be to cut the cord from your phone for an hour, a day, a weekend, however long you can, instead of just being addicted to these hits of dopamine that we get every time someone retweets us or texts us or whatever, which is all great stuff. And researching the Compassion Revolution, I found so many stats on things like nomophobia, fear of being away from your device.
Yeah.
This is a real thing that people are contending with. And in the past 20 years, we've seen a 1,200% rise in anxiety disorders. And that's because we're on the phone. We're seeing breaking news when it happens all the time, 24 hours a day. It's not like you watched the news at night, you went away from it, that was it. It's 24 hours of just bombarding stimuli. So it's so compassionate to give yourself a break.
I love how you say it's so compassionate to give yourself a break. I had to repeat that because a lot of times we feel like we need to be knowing what's going on, but that's just contributing to our anxiety, our fear, our depression, our ails that are happening. So what would you recommend that someone were to do, like return to the joy list and say, okay, I'm going to turn off my phone for a while, maybe go for a hike or go call a friend, I guess, calling if you're technology, but you get it.
Isn't bad though. I mean, I think that's okay. I think if you're off screens, perfect.
Yeah.
Nature is great because it's in a way, it's like the opposite of technology.
Like, you know, medicine for everything. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And I think I know in my medical intuitive practice, I mean, I see so many people with adrenal fatigue. People are exhausted and they're checking their phone right before bed. They're getting that blue light in the face. They're seeing, all these things just happened across the world. Maybe we don't need to know all the time. Maybe we need breaks.
I think it is, and I think it's about aligning with your truth too. And when you can come back to yourself and you can align with love and the light within you, you know that it's not a sense of helplessness as much as an empowerment, because you are lifting yourself up first, and then we can be of service to others.
Yes.
I like that you're saying that a lot. And okay, so I'll move into my next one. And the next step for us is to turn your inner critic into compassion or curiosity. And so we all have this inner voice that tells us we are not doing what we should be. We're off track. That person over there has more whatever. And this inner critic is usually in the driver's seat until we can recognize it. And so what I started to do in my own practice, and then what the self-love experiment talks about, is learning to recognize that inner critic is not you. You know, we hear Mel Wells has said, Christine Hassler also mentioned this, that, you know, if you talk to your friends the way you talk to yourself, would you still have friends, right? And the truth is, I think we have to be aware of our inner critic and become our friend with this critic. And so a lot of times we can look at this voice as an opportunity for us to see what parts of our life needs more attention and care and love. A lot of times things act out, like a child acting out, and it's totally fine. It's like, you know, it's all good. It's like a child acting out. It's like, whoa, technology class. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like a child acting out. They just want attention, and when you give them the attention, it subsides. So the inner critic is often raging inside, but when we can turn to curiosity and give it compassion and say, what is it you really need, we can transform that relationship. And I have a whole section in my book, The Self-Love Experiment, about that, because it's a profound practice when we can learn to coexist with the inner voice that tells us we're not good enough. You can transform it to say, you know what? Everything is in right order and you are doing an amazing job.
I love that. It's so beautiful. And just the idea to really bring attention to how we're talking to ourselves.
So important. Yeah.
It's huge. It's huge. In The Untethered Soul, which is an incredible book by Michael Singer, he says basically, like what you were saying, everyone was saying, if we talk to our friends the way we talk to ourselves, it'd be a mess, because we're neurotic in there. We can't help it.
Yeah, and it's a matter of gathering the tools to use and apply, where you can start to be compassionate with yourself first, because it all stems out from the inside. Everything we want has to start on the inside. And a lot of times we try to get things outside of ourselves, you know, and we're reaching for that goal because that's going to make us happier, but it has to start on the inside. So good resources. Definitely. What's the next tip you have?
My next one is kind of related. It's to get back in touch with our inner witness, which is that part of ourself that sits behind I'm looking around the room, I'm talking to Shannon, I wonder what I'm going to make for dinner later. Am I going to go to Zumba later? You know, all the mind chatter. Behind that, in our heart, sits the inner witness, who's always there observing and with a posture of eternal love and calmness. And that's the part of ourselves that we connect with when we meditate. And how compassionate is that to feel that infinite aspect of who we are? It's always there. It's never agitated. It's behind, watching, supporting, and a source of calmness. And so the way to access that, or one of the easiest ways to access that, is meditation.
Wow, that's so beautiful. So you recommend perhaps meditating. What does meditation look like for you?
I do. For me, it varies, and I kind of like the Oprah and Deepak 21-day meditation challenges. I really like the audio. I have a little, very retro, little Discman, and I'll use that like if I'm in bed so I don't have my phone in there. So I like that, and that supplies a mantra. So it's a little bit of music, a centering thought, a couple inspirational words from Oprah, and then a mantra. So that's a nice way to meditate.
I love that you said that, because I think the mantras are really powerful. Sometimes when we hear the word meditation, at least in the beginning of my practice, I was like, oh, it's so hard. You're supposed to sit on a pillow and zone out and tune out the world. But to me, I really learned meditation is, for me, opposite of that. It's about becoming acutely aware and very present to the moment. And so I learned that meditation is actually, again, back to joy, when you're truly in the moment doing what you love. So writing is meditative for me. I used to run a lot, jogging, right? And so anyone listening who feels like, I hear meditation all the time, and we put pressure on ourselves to think we need to be meditating more, I think it really comes back to you be where you are and accept that meditation is exactly what you want to make of it. It's really just about being present and being more mindful of the moment.
Absolutely. And bringing the being compassionate and loving to ourselves into it. Instead of making yourself sit on this cushion and your back hurts and this and that, lay down.
Yeah, lay down. Totally.
Right? It's too hard to just sit there and clear your mind.
Yes.
All right. Say a word over and over and lay down for a while. It doesn't have to be hard.
Oh, good. I'm going to ask you a power question at the end that will tie back to this. It just came to my mind, so I'll have to remember. Yes, exactly. So, okay, the last tip that we'll share with you today on how to feel more self-compassion is to adopt the mantra, speaking of mantras, the more me I show, the more my life will flow. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
One, because it is about being authentic to you. And the reality is, we try so hard to get the things we want on our timeline, when we want it, how we want it. And we often hide ourselves because of other people. They don't agree with us, or we're worried that they won't support us. But what I learned on my journey, and truly what self-love really is, it's about you being who you are in a world that's trying to tell you to be someone else. And the more you allow yourself to be, if you don't want to go out with certain friends, or if you don't want to join a certain club or read a book or whatever everyone else seems to be doing in your circle, tune into what you want, because I promise you, with every fiber of my body, and Amy can contest to this, the more you show, not only the more your life will flow, but the more abundance will grow, the more your life will flow, the relationship you're working on will flow, because you really want to be true to yourself. That's why you're here. So those are the tips we have. But Amy, I have a power tip for you. It's not a power tip, but so I would say, what is, and I'm going to throw this out to everyone watching and listening as well, what is the best part of your day? That one moment in your day that you love the most?
That's nice. That is a power question.
And there's so many, right? But what's one that comes to mind now?
I think for me, it's like hugging and snuggling with my husband, like getting to see him and we're having a good day and we have a hug or we have a snuggle and stuff. I think it's that. I'm kind of a cuddler.
I love that. You're a world famous cuddler.
Yeah. What's yours?
Well, the thing is, my brother asked me this the other day, and it really caught me by surprise, because I was like, wow, that's a brilliant question. And I answered from my heart, and I said, every night before I go to bed, Tucker, my 80-pound golden retriever, tucks me in. He comes to bed, and it's like a ritual that we have. And every night now, because he is a senior guy, and I'm always like, hey, Tucker, thanks. This is the best part of my day. But with that goes a part of the ritual, which is every night for the past maybe 30 days, I've been watching YouTube meditation videos from Jerry and Esther Hicks when I go to bed.
Ooh.
And so that's part of the practice. Like Tucker tucks me in and then I listen to a 5-minute meditation, or sometimes I even listen to my own meditations, right? And I have meditation albums, or I'm drawn to some of the work you're doing, and I just pull in inspiration before I go to bed, because as you go to bed and drift off to beautiful dreamland, you're in an energetic vibration of more peace versus thinking, oh, I didn't do what I wanted today, I'm fighting with this person. You put yourself into a place of appreciation. So I'm going to invite every single person listening to now and forevermore, when you go to bed, to say, what was the highlight of my day? And just really focus on that. Be grateful for that moment. It can change each day, but that's part of self-compassion as well. Any last thing you would add, Amy? Any goodbye messages for everyone watching?
That was amazing what you just shared, and I would second it and really just say, you know, it's so powerful to give ourselves permission to take some care, you know, to meditate, to have, like what you're saying, like develop that daily ritual, just to treat ourselves with kindness. It's the ultimate power.
Yeah,
really.
Absolutely. So these tips, we hope, provide you guys with some support, and we're so happy to be here. Thank you for joining us with Play with the World Self-Love Experiment interview series. We will see you guys again soon. Thank you so much for being here, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me. You look so beautiful today, too.
You always do. I love your lipstick. So pretty. I'll see you soon, and we hope you guys catch us in New York. We can't wait to hug you in person. Both Amy and I are giant huggers.